Marcus was used to being hit. Tonight, it finally cost him. A hulking bully twice his size had 7-year-old Lily pinned against a graffiti-stained wall, her screams swallowed by the roar of passing bikes. Marcus stepped between them, dirty hoodie, shaking hands. Then the bully's shove sent him crashing to the concrete, a sickening snap ripping through his arm. Tires screamed. Engines cut. Boots circled. The crowd split as Reaper, Lily's Hell's Angels father, knelt beside Marcus, lifted his broken arm, and whispered something in his ear that made every biker go dead silent. Welcome to the Hell's Angels family. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because this story will touch your heart in ways you won't expect. To my faithful subscribers who've been here from the beginning, may God continue to bless you abundantly. Before we dive in, let's lift this moment up in prayer. Heavenly Father, I come before you asking for your divine protection over everyone watching right now. Bless their families, Lord. Heal their bodies, provide for their needs, and give them peace that surpasses all understanding. Surround them with your favor and let your presence be felt in their lives today. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Now, what you're about to witness isn't just a story about a broken arm. It's about a forgotten 12-year-old boy who risks everything to protect a biker's little girl, and how the very people the world fears most become the family he never knew he needed. There isn't supposed to be this much fear in a place this ordinary. The alley behind Eddie's Diner in a quiet Los Angeles suburb is usually boring, smelling like fries, old coffee, and rain-soaked cardboard. Tonight, it feels like the whole world has narrowed down to one small, shaking boy trying not to drop a tray of dirty dishes. Marcus keeps his eyes on the ground as he hurries along the cracked pavement, the metal tray rattling in his thin hands. He's 12, all elbows and shadows, wearing a hoodie that's seen too many nights and shoes held together by hope and someone else's old laces. From the dining room windows, older customers watch him the way people watch stray dogs. Sadly, silently, pretending they aren't. He pretends not to see them staring. If he looks up, he starts wondering what it would feel like to sit at a table like that again. To be someone's son instead of someone's problem. Careful, kid. Eddie calls from the back door, voice gruff but not unkind. Those plates break. We're both in trouble. Yes, sir, Marcus answers automatically. He doesn't say. If these plates break, I lose the only place in this neighborhood that lets me wash dishes for leftovers. The back door swings shut behind him, muffling the murmur of conversation and the clink of silverware. Out here, the sounds are different. Distant traffic, a barking dog, the hum of the diner's old generator. And then, something else. A small voice. Hi. Scared, trying so hard not to sound like it. Please, the voice says, close enough to make his heartbeat stumble. Can I have it back? Marcus freezes mid-step. On instinct, he sets the tray down on a crate, the plates clinking softly. He tells himself it's none of his business. He tells himself he's just the kid who scrubs pans and pretends not to exist. He tells himself that if he gets involved, Eddie could tell him not to come back. But the voice shakes once, just enough, and it sounds so much like another voice he hasn't heard in almost a year. A little girl crying in a social worker's office as a door closed between them. His sister. Marcus swallows hard and steps toward the sound. The alley narrows near the back fence, where the brick wall pinches in and a battered dumpster leans like it's too tired to stand straight. That's where he sees them. Lily is pinned between the brick and a mountain of a boy. She's 7, her pink backpack hanging crooked off one shoulder, blonde hair and uneven pigtails. Tears glisten at the corners of her eyes, but she's biting her lip, trying not to let them fall. In her small hands, she keeps reaching up, fingers stretching for something she can't reach. Above her, a huge teenager, easily twice Marcus's size, holds a little spiral notebook just out of her grasp. Broad shoulders fill the narrow space. His jacket is too short for his arms, his jeans frayed at the cuffs, boots heavy on the uneven ground. He isn't hitting her. He isn't shoving her. He's just crowding her space, laughing at the drawings inside the notebook like they're the funniest thing in the world. They're not stupid, Lily says, voice wobbling. They're my pictures. The big boy snorts. They're baby scribbles. What are you, 5? I'm 7, she whispers. Older people watching this scene would feel it like a stone in their chest. This isn't a movie brawl. This is the kind of small, quiet cruelty they remember from school hallways and playground corners. Moments that never left bruises on skin, but left them on memory. Marcus's first instinct is to step back, to fade into the wall like always. Nobody sees him. Nobody asks him to fix anything. If he walks away now, no one will even know he was here. He almost does. He takes half a step back, foot brushing the slick edge of a dark oil stain near the dumpster. His fingers curl into the fabric of his hoodie. His heart bangs against his ribs. Just go, he whispers to himself. Don't get involved. You can't fix anything. But Lily's chin trembles when the boy flips to another page. A messy crayon drawing of a man on a motorcycle holding a little girl's hand. The big kid laughs louder this time. Look at this, he mocks. You think your dad's some kind of superhero? He's just a biker. Bet he's never even home. Lily's eyes flash with something between hurt and stubbornness. He loves me, she says, stronger this time. He always comes back. Marcus feels that sentence like a punch he never saw coming. He can't remember the last time anyone came back for him. If this boy's loneliness and courage already hit you in the chest, don't scroll away. Subscribe so you don't lose his story. The air feels heavier suddenly, like the alley itself is waiting to see what he does. Marcus steps forward. Hey, he says, voice small at first. Then louder. Hey, she said give it back. The big boy turns, surprised to see anyone there at all. His eyes flick over Marcus, thin, tired, wearing clothes that don't fit, and something ugly crosses his face. Not pure cruelty. Something closer to that defensive, embarrassed anger of someone who's been laughed at his whole life, and finally found someone smaller. This isn't your business, he mutters. Beat it. Marcus's knees want to shake. He plants his feet anyway. She asked you nicely, he says. Just give it back. Please. Lily's eyes latch onto him like he's a lifeline he doesn't feel qualified to be. He didn't do anything, she blurts, looking at the bigger boy. Just give it back and I'll go. I promise. The older boy hesitates. For the first time, Marcus notices the frayed collar of his jacket, the worn-out sneakers, the tired look hiding behind the bravado. This bully isn't a movie villain. He's a scared kid too, clumsy in a body that everyone expects to be dangerous. He shifts his weight, notebook still in his hand. Don't be a hero, he tells Marcus. But it sounds more like a plea than a threat. Just move. No, Marcus says quietly. She's crying. The world seems to narrow down to a triangle. The huge boy, the little girl, and the homeless kid who's finally too tired of being invisible to pretend it doesn't matter. Then everything happens at once. The older boy tries to step around Marcus without actually touching him, muttering, fine, whatever, as he lowers the notebook slightly. Lily reaches for it. Marcus shifts to stay between them, his worn-out sneaker landing right on the slick patch of oil he'd almost stepped on earlier. His foot shoots out from under him. The alley tips sideways. He doesn't even have time to throw his hands out properly. His right arm hits the pavement first, all his thin weight crashing down on bone that's grown without enough milk, enough rest, enough anything. The crack is like a gunshot in the narrow space. He doesn't scream. Not at first. His breath just disappears, sucked right out of his chest, eyes wide and shocked. Then the pain hits, white-hot, sharp, exploding from his arm all the way up to his shoulder. He curls around it instinctively, cradling the limb to his chest. Lily gasps, notebook forgotten, falling to her knees beside him. Are you okay? She whispers, voice tiny and panicked. I'm fine. Marcus lies through clenched teeth. I'm fine. The big boy's face drains of color. I didn't, he stammers. I didn't push you. I didn't mean. He drops the notebook like it's burning him, backing up a step, hands shaking. The tough act is gone. What's left is a terrified kid who never wanted this to happen. I'm sorry, he blurts, looking from Marcus's twisted arm to Lily's watery eyes. I'm sorry, okay? I swear I didn't. His voice cracks. He turns and runs, heavy footsteps pounding down the alley until they fade away. For a moment, it's just the three of them. Marcus, trying not to cry. Lily, clutching his good hand like it's the only solid thing in the world, and the forgotten notebook on the ground, open to a drawing of a man on a bike holding a little girl's hand. The drawing is shaky, but the love in it is obvious. Marcus wheezes in a breath, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool air. "It's okay," he whispers, more to calm Lily than himself. "See? I'm okay. Just a scratch." Older viewers would see through that lie instantly. The way his fingers tremble, the way his face has gone gray around the edges, the way kids always think if they act tough, adults won't get mad. Lily shakes her head, tears spilling freely now. "No," she says. "No, it's not okay. You fell so hard. Your arm looks wrong." He doesn't want to look. He's afraid that if he sees it, the pain will get worse. Somewhere beyond the alley, the world keeps moving. Cars pass. A bus sighs to a stop. Someone inside the diner laughs at a joke they'll forget in 5 minutes. In here, time feels stuck. Then Lily does something small that hits harder than the pain. She gently takes off her backpack and slides it under his head like a pillow, her little hands careful, so careful, shoulders shaking as she tries to be brave. "Stay here," she says. "Please don't move. I'm going to get my dad." Marcus's heart stumbles. "You don't have to. You helped me." She cuts in, fierce in a way only children with loving parents can be. "Now my dad's going to help you." Before he can stop her, she's on her feet, sneakers slapping the pavement as she runs out of the alley toward the diner parking lot. For a moment, Marcus is alone again. The cold from the concrete seeps through his clothes. The edges of his vision blur. He wonders if Eddie will be mad the trays are still out back. He wonders if the hospital will even admit a kid with no parent to sign anything. He wonders if maybe he should have just stayed behind the dumpster, invisible. If this boy disappearing back into the shadows would break your heart, subscribe so you don't lose what happens next. Then he hears it, a sound that doesn't belong in such a small, tired alley. The low, steady rumble of multiple engines rolling closer. Motorcycles. Not one. Several. The ground vibrates beneath him as they pull into the lot. Voices carry, men calling to each other, boots on asphalt, the clink of kickstands. Lily's voice cuts through them all, high and urgent. "Daddy, Daddy, hurry." He's hurt. Marcus swallows against the lump in his throat. "Daddy," he realizes, with a strange twist in his chest, that he can't remember the last time anyone said that word like it meant safety. The rumble grows louder. Shadows fall across the mouth of the alley as figures move into view, leather vests, worn jeans, patches that make people whisper and cross the street. For the first time, truly afraid now, Marcus wonders what kind of man is about to find a homeless boy on the ground, holding his daughter's hand. A heavy pair of boots steps into the alley. Then another. Then a voice, deep and roughened by years on the road, calls out in a tone Marcus can't quite read. "Lily? Where are you? Who's that with you?" Marcus squeezes his eyes shut for a second, breath shaking, arm throbbing, heart pounding so hard it almost drowns out the engines. He doesn't know it yet, but in the space between that question and his answer, his entire life is hanging in the balance. And as the shadow of the first biker stretches toward him across the cracked concrete, the screen fades, right before the man steps fully into view. Reaper's question hangs in the air like smoke, heavy and waiting for an answer. "Lily, where are you? Who's that with you?" Marcus lies very still on the cold concrete, his broken arm throbbing in waves. He hears boots scraping, engines idling in the parking lot, Lily's quick breathing beside him. He wants to disappear into the ground. Instead, the world seems to be closing in. Lily is the first thing Reaper sees when he steps fully into the alley. She rushes to him, flinging herself at his side, one hand still clinging to Marcus's good arm. "Daddy, don't be mad," she says in a rush. "He was helping me. He didn't do anything wrong." Reaper's gaze shifts past her. The sight freezes him. A thin 12-year-old boy curled around an arm that's bent wrong, trying to bite back sound so he won't bother anyone, wearing a hoodie that's at least 2 winters too old. Oil stains darken the ground where he fell. A little notebook lies open nearby, its pages fluttering in the breeze. Reaper's jaw tightens, but not with anger. He walks over slowly, boots echoing off the narrow brick walls, and kneels down. The leather of his vest creaks, patches folding over his broad shoulders. Up close, Marcus can see streaks of gray in his beard and deep lines around his eyes. Lines made from squinting into the sun, but also from worrying more than he'll ever admit. "Hey, kid," Reaper says quietly. "Talk to me. What's your name?" "Marcus," he whispers. The name sounds small in the alley, but Reaper treats it like something important. "Marcus," he repeats. "All right. Can you wiggle your fingers for me?" Marcus tries. His hand twitches once. Pain shoots up his arm and he gasps, biting down hard on his lip. "Okay, that's enough," Reaper says immediately. "Don't do that again." More boots appear at the edge of the alley. A couple of bikers stand there, not coming any closer, watching with expressions that don't match the skulls and flames on their vests. One of them, older with a gray beard, nods toward Marcus. "Bad break?" he asks softly. Reaper barely glances up. "Looks like it." Lily squeezes Marcus's hand tighter. "Tell him, Daddy," she pleads. "Tell him he's not in trouble. He thinks he's in trouble." Reaper's eyes flick to Marcus's face. The boy is pale, jaw clenched, eyes darting like he's waiting to be yelled at or shoved aside. "You think I'm mad at you?" Reaper asks. Marcus swallows. "I shouldn't have got in the way," he mutters. "I'll just go? I fall all the time. I'm fine." The words are too practiced. Older viewers would hear it instantly. The voice of a child who's learned to shrink his pain so adults don't feel bothered. Reaper's brows draw together. "Marcus," he says slowly, "you are not going anywhere." He slides one arm behind Marcus's back, the other under his knees, careful of the broken limb. "This is gonna hurt," he warns. "But I'm not dropping you." "Okay." Marcus nods, though his eyes are wide. Reaper lifts. The alley spins. Pain flares white-hot through Marcus's arm, but there's something else there too. A shock so deep it almost drowns the hurt. He is being carried. Not dragged, not hurried along, not told to get up and walk it off. Carried, like he matters. Lily hurries alongside, clutching her notebook. "Daddy, tell him," she insists. "Tell him he's a hero." "Hero," Marcus croaks. "You stood up for my girl," Reaper says. "You don't gotta break bones to prove anything. But you did it anyway." They step out into the parking lot. The late day light washes over them. Diner windows glowing, neon sign buzzing faintly. Older customers press to the glass, faces lined with worry. Motorcycles are parked in neat rows, chrome catching the sun. Their engines are off now, but the air still holds the echo of their rumble. Eddie stands in the doorway, dish towel over his shoulder, eyes on Marcus. "Is he gonna be all right?" Eddie asks, voice rougher than usual. "Not if he stays here bleeding in your alley," Reaper answers. "Taking him to the hospital." Eddie nods, guilt flickering across his face. "Kid's been cleaning up for scraps for months," he admits. "I should have asked more questions." An older woman near the window presses her hand to the glass. "He's just a child," she whispers. "He shouldn't be out there alone." If seeing this boy finally noticed after everyone walked past him breaks your heart, like and subscribe so his story isn't forgotten again. Reaper carries Marcus to an old pickup parked at the end of the lot. One of the bikers jogs ahead, yanking the passenger door open. Lily scrambles into the seat, scooting over so Reaper can ease Marcus in beside her. He buckles Marcus in carefully, fingers steady despite the tension in his jaw. "You ever ridden in a truck like this?" Reaper asks. Marcus shakes his head faintly. "Not that I remember." "First time for everything," Reaper says. The way he says it makes it sound bigger than just a ride. He shuts the door gently and circles to the driver's side. Two bikes roll into formation behind the truck, like an escort. When Reaper starts the engine, the bikers do too, the low rumble surrounding them like a protective wall. As they pull onto the street, Lily leans closer. "Does it hurt a lot?" she asks. "Some," Marcus admits. "I've had worse." She frowns. "You're 12. You're not supposed to say I've had worse." He doesn't know how to answer that. Buildings slip by. The diner, a laundromat, a tired strip mall, rows of small houses with patchy lawns. Los Angeles hums around them, busy and indifferent. To everyone else, they're just another truck in traffic. To Marcus, This feels like crossing some invisible line. Where do you stay, Marcus? Reaper asks after a while, eyes on the road. Marcus stares at his shoes. Around, he says. Around where? Reaper presses gently. Just around. He licks his lips. Behind places. Under stuff. Sometimes shelters, if there's space. Lily's eyes widen. You don't have a room? She asks, like it's the strangest thing she's ever heard. Like, with a bed? And a nightlight? He gives a half shrug. I had one, he says. Before. Reaper glances at him. Before what, he asks. Marcus hesitates. The truth feels heavy in his mouth. Before they stopped trying to keep me and my sister together, he says quietly. Before they moved her somewhere else. Before they said I was harder to place. The phrase tastes bitter, like something he heard in a hallway and never forgot. Reaper's hands tighten on the wheel. He knows what it is to be labeled harder to handle, harder to trust, harder to fix. Different words, same message. You got any family here? Reaper asks. Anybody who checks on you? Marcus thinks about it. The list is short. A lady at the shelter sometimes asks if I'm eating, he offers. Eddie lets me wash dishes. A crossing guard gave me her extra gloves once. He swallows. That's kind of it. Silence settles over the cab. Outside, the city rushes by. Inside, it feels like time has slowed down to make room for this truth. The hospital appears ahead, squat and too bright, its sliding doors opening and closing like a mouth swallowing people and spitting them back out changed. Reaper pulls into the lot and parks. This part might be worse than the arm, he mutters. What part? Marcus asks. The questions, Reaper says. Inside, the waiting room is a patchwork of stories. A coughing child on his mother's lap. An elderly man with an ice pack on his knee. A teenage boy with a swollen finger cradled to his chest. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, washing everyone in the same pale glow. Conversations falter as Reaper walks in carrying Marcus, Lily close behind. The woman at the registration desk straightens, eyes flitting over Reaper's vest, then settling on Marcus. What happened, she asks. He fell, Reaper says. Arms broken. Needs a doctor. She grabs a clipboard. Name? She asks Marcus. Marcus, he says. She waits. Last name, she prompts. His tongue feels thick. The letters line up in his head, but they don't want to come out. Saying it out loud means admitting he's here alone with it. He opens his mouth. Nothing comes. The woman's expression softens. That's okay, she says gently. We'll get to that. Do you have a parent or guardian we can contact? Marcus's chest tightens. I know, he says. Not here. Reaper shifts his weight, adjusting his hold. He's not walking in here by himself, Reaper says. You can put my number down. The woman blinks. Are you his father? She asks. Lily looks up sharply, eyes darting between them. Reaper looks at Marcus, really looks at him. At the way he curls his shoulders in, at the way he waits for the answer like it will decide whether he's allowed to hope. Not by blood, Reaper says. But I brought him in. I'm not leaving him. Older viewers would recognize that line for what it really is. A man who has spent most of his life running from attachments, quietly stepping over a line he can't uncross. The woman nods slowly. All right, she says. We'll list you as his emergency contact for now. She fills in a few fields on the screen, then hands Marcus a form. Can you write your full name here? She asks. Marcus grips the pen awkwardly in his left hand. His writing is shaky and crooked, but he manages to get every letter down. Seeing it there, in black ink on official paper, makes his chest hurt. The woman glances at it, then at him. Something like pity flickers in her eyes. Thank you, Marcus, she says. We'll call you soon. Reaper carries him over to a cluster of chairs. He sits with Marcus on one side and Lily on the other, like they're bookends keeping the boy from sliding out of the world. Time stretches. The TV hums with a muted talk show. A toddler fusses. Somewhere behind a door, a monitor beeps steadily. Lily passes the time by drawing on the back of a takeout flyer with a stub of a crayon she finds in her backpack. She sketches 3 stick figures. One tall with a vest, one small with a cast, one little with pigtails. Above them, she draws a crooked heart. Who's that? Marcus asks, nodding toward the tall figure. My dad, she says. And the little one, Me, she answers, like it's obvious. He nods at the third. And him. She looks at him like he's missed something important. You, she says. Duh. He swallows hard. Why am I in your picture? He whispers. Lily shrugs. Because you didn't leave, she says simply. Most people leave. Across the room, the registration woman picks up the phone again. Her voice is low, but a few words still drift over. Yes, male, approximately 12, no guardian present. Homeless, from what we can tell. Yes, someone is with him, but not legal family. Marcus's blood runs cold. He's heard this before. Different office, different chair, same script. Are they gonna take me somewhere? He asks, barely audible. Reaper follows his gaze to the front desk, jaw tightening. They're gonna try to make sure you're not sleeping in alleys, Reaper says. That's their job. That's not always what happens, Marcus whispers. Older viewers would feel the ache in that line, the way children learn to expect the worst from systems that were supposed to protect them. A nurse steps through the swinging door and calls a name. Not his. The phone call ends. The registration woman hangs up slowly, then looks toward Marcus again. She hesitates, then makes another call, voice softer this time. The nervous buzz in Marcus's chest grows. I don't want to go to a place, he says quietly. They always say it's temporary, but it's never temporary. It's just somewhere until they move you again. Reaper exhales, long and slow. Who told you that, he asks. People, Marcus says. They always say there's a plan. They never told me what it was. The nurse at the door calls another name. Marcus, she calls. Reaper stands, lifting him again with practiced care. Lily jumps up too. You're coming, right? She asks her father. Yeah, Reaper says. I'm not sending him back there alone. They move toward the doors. As they pass the front desk, the woman gives Reaper a measured look. Sir, she says carefully, I did have to notify Child Protective Services. Someone will probably reach out soon about his situation. Reaper doesn't flinch. What kind of situation do they think he has, he asks. One where he's alone, she says. They'll want to know if he has any relatives, any stable place to go. She lowers her voice. If he doesn't, they'll need to arrange a placement for him. Placement. The word feels like stepping off a curb and realizing too late there's no street beneath your feet. Lily's small hand tightens around Marcus's. Does that mean they'll take him away? She asks. The woman hesitates, choosing her words. They'll try to do what's safest for him, she says. Marcus stares at the floor. Safe doesn't always feel safe, he murmurs. Reaper hears it. His shoulders rise and fall once, as if he's making a decision inside himself with no witnesses but the two kids clinging to each other. He looks at the woman. What if someone wanted to help with that, he says slowly. Not just for tonight. Her brows lift. You mean, take responsibility? She asks. Like a guardian? The word hangs in the air. In that split second, older viewers would recognize the moment when a man who never planned to be anybody's example is standing at a crossroads he never saw coming. Reaper looks down at Marcus, sees the way the boy is bracing for bad news, for being passed along like luggage. Then he looks back at the woman. What would it take, he asks, voice low but steady, for them to consider someone like me? Her eyes flick down to the Hell's Angels patch on his chest, then up to the soft way Lily is leaning against him and the fierce way Marcus is gripping his vest with his good hand. It would take a lot, she says honestly. Paperwork. Checks. Conversations. Time. Reaper's jaw works as he breathes out slowly through his nose. Good, he says. Tom, I've got. The doors to the exam area whoosh open, spilling cold air and bright light into the waiting room. The nurse inside clears her throat. Marcus, she repeats. We're ready for you. Reaper steps forward, carrying the boy toward whatever comes next. The first thing Marcus notices is the ceiling. Not the bright light or the sting of antiseptic in the air, but the way the ceiling tiles float in and out of focus above him like pieces of a puzzle that never quite fit. A monitor beeps somewhere to his left. Paper rustles. Voices drift in and out, calm and clinical. He blinks. His arm is wrapped in something white and heavy now, cradled against his chest in a sling. The raw, screaming pain has dimmed into a deep, steady ache, like a bruise stretching all the way into his bones. "Hey there, Marcus," a soft voice says. He turns his head. A woman in light blue scrubs stands at his bedside, her hair tucked into a loose bun, a badge clipped to her pocket. She smiles, not the tight professional smile he's used to, but something softer. "Arms all set," she says. "Clean break. You were very brave." He shrugs with one shoulder. "I fell," he mutters. "That's not brave." "Sometimes," she says, "trying to protect someone is." Before he can answer, the door clicks open. Lily slips in first, clutching her notebook like a shield. Reaper follows, shoulders filling the doorway, leather vest looking out of place against the pale hospital walls. He pauses, eyes moving straight to Marcus, as if making sure he's still there. "You're awake," Lily says, relief flooding her voice. Marcus nods. "How long was I out?" he asks. "Couple of hours," Reaper says. "They knocked you out to set the bone." "We waited the whole time," Lily adds quickly. "Daddy wouldn't let anybody make us leave." Marcus looks toward the window. Late afternoon has melted into early evening. The sky outside is turning the color of bruised peaches and streetlight glow. He hadn't expected them to still be here. "You didn't have to," he says. Reaper snorts softly. "Kid, you really gotta stop talking like you're an inconvenience," he says. "You're not a broken chair someone left on the curb." The nurse chuckles at that, then glances at the chart at the end of the bed. "Doctor will be back in a minute to go over care instructions," she says. "And someone from social services is on their way to talk to you, Marcus. Just so you're prepared." The words land like a stone in his stomach. "Okay," he says, but it comes out thin and tight. After she leaves, the room feels smaller. Lily climbs carefully onto the chair beside the bed, swinging her feet. Her shoes don't quite reach the floor. Reaper takes the other chair, sitting a little farther back, like he's giving Marcus space but refusing to go too far. For a few seconds, no one speaks. Finally, Reaper clears his throat. "How's it feel?" he asks, nodding toward the cast. "Heavy," Marcus says honestly. "And weird. Means it's doing its job," Reaper replies. "Keeping it still so it can grow back strong." Marcus stares at the cast. "I didn't think anything about me could grow back strong," he says quietly, almost to himself. Reaper looks at him sharply, but before he can respond, there's a soft knock at the door. A woman in a gray blazer steps in, carrying a folder. She's not in scrubs. Her badge reads, Child Protective Services. "Marcus?" she asks gently. He straightens instinctively, shoulders tensing. "Yes, ma'am," he says. She smiles in that way adults do when they're trying to be non-threatening. "My name is Ms. Carter," she says. "Can we talk for a few minutes?" "All of us." Her eyes flick to Reaper and Lily, taking them in. The biker in the patched vest, the little girl perched on the chair, the way they're both anchored to the boy in the bed. "If it's okay with Marcus," she adds. He hesitates. Every other time someone like her walked into a room, it meant he was leaving wherever he had started. New bed. New rules. New faces who tried their best until they gave up. But when he looks at Lily, big eyes pleading for him to say yes, and Reaper, sitting solid and steady, he hears himself say, "It's okay. They can stay." Miss Carter nods and pulls up a third chair. "First of all," she says, "I'm glad you're safe tonight. That matters most." She opens the folder. Marcus sees his name written in black ink again. "Can you tell me where you've been staying?" she asks. He takes a breath. "Different places," he says. "Shelters, sometimes. Behind the diner, mostly. I didn't want to bother anyone." "Do you have any parents or relatives we can call?" she asks, voice careful. His throat tightens. "My mom," he swallows. "She died. My dad. I don't know where he is. Social workers tried to find him once. They couldn't. I was with my sister for a while. Then they moved her." His voice drops. "They said I was harder to place." Miss Carter's eyes soften. "I'm sorry," she says. "You've had a lot on your shoulders for someone your age." He shrugs, eyes on his blanket. "It's just life," he mumbles. Her gaze shifts to Reaper. "And you are?" she asks. "Reaper," he says, then adds, "Most people call me that. Government calls me Michael." "Are you related to Marcus in any way?" she asks. Lily opens her mouth. "He." Reaper gently puts a hand on her arm, stopping her. "Not by blood," he says. "I'm Lily's father. Marcus stepped in when a bigger kid was messing with her." Hurt himself doing it. We brought him here. You stayed, Miss Carter notes. Yes, he says simply. She studies him for a long moment. Hospital called to let us know a minor with no guardian information was admitted, she says. In cases like this, we look at placing the child somewhere safe, group homes, foster care, or, if possible, with certified relatives. She pauses. You're not listed as either. Marcus's stomach twists. He stares at his cast. So you're sending me somewhere? He asks. I don't want to send you anywhere, she says. I want to make sure you're not back on the street with a broken arm and no one to help you. That means finding a safe, stable place. Her words are kind, but they still sound like doors closing. Reaper shifts in his chair. What if that place, he says slowly, isn't on your list yet? Miss Carter looks at him. What do you mean? She asks. Reaper leans forward, forearms on his knees. He doesn't have anywhere else, does he? He says. No parents. No bed. No adults answering the phone when he gets hurt. You put him in some group place. He's just another kid on a bunk. Another file in a drawer. That's not what we want, she says quietly. But that's what happens, he replies. You know it. I know it. He knows it. Her silence is answer enough. Look, Reaper continues, I'm not a saint. I've made plenty of mistakes. But I have something you don't. What's that? She asks. He looks at Lily, then at Marcus. A kid who already trusts me, he says, and one who's starting to. Marcus feels his throat close up. You don't have to say that, he whispers. They never keep people like me very long. You'll get tired. Reaper turns to him, eyes sharp. Who told you you're something people get tired of? He asks. Marcus doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. Miss Carter closes the folder halfway, her fingers resting on the edges. Mr. Michael, she says carefully, are you saying you want to be considered as a guardian? He finishes for her. Yeah, I am. The room goes very still. Lily's eyes widen, hands flying to her mouth. Daddy, she breathes. You mean like he'd live with us? Reaper doesn't look away from Ms. Carter. If that's what he wants, he says. Then, to Marcus, if that's what you'd want. Marcus's heart hammers so hard he's sure they can all hear it. Live with them, in a real house? With a bed that's his? With someone who stays until morning? You'd want me there? He asks, voice breaking. Reaper frowns, like the question doesn't make sense. You broke your arm trying to protect my kid, he says. You think I'm just going to drop you back behind a dumpster and drive away? Tears prick Marcus's eyes before he can stop them. He presses his lips together, but one escapes anyway. Ms. Carter is watching closely. Michael, she says carefully, I'm not going to lie to you. This is not a small thing you're asking. There would be home checks, background checks, interviews, training. It's a process. I figured, he says. It may not be easy to approve, she continues. Your lifestyle, your record, your association with a club people don't understand. He finishes, his tone even. I know. We're not exactly poster parents. Lily sits up straighter. We're good, she says firmly. We're nice. We share pancakes. We walk the neighbor's dog when she's sick. She points at Marcus. And he already saved me. So we're even. Miss Carter's lips twitch despite herself. None of that is in the standard paperwork, she says, but it does matter. Marcus draws in a shaky breath. What happens if they say no? He asks. The question hangs there, ugly and heavy. Miss Carter doesn't sugarcoat it. Then we would place you in a licensed facility or foster home, she says gently. We'd try to keep you nearby, but there are no guarantees. Nearby? He's heard that word before too, and it always meant far enough that no one you care about can get to you. Reaper leans back, rubbing a hand over his beard. What if they say yes? He asks. Then, she says, we'd begin the process. It would still take time, but you could be considered for kinship style or foster placement with him, under supervision. She pauses. In either case, she adds, looking at Marcus, we are not leaving you alone. That much I can promise. Silence follows. Marcus stares at his hands. His good one is clenched into a fist on top of the blanket. Slowly, he uncurls his fingers. If I say I want to stay with them, he asks, does that even matter? Or do grown-ups just decide? Miss Carter's eyes soften. It matters a lot, she says. We're supposed to listen to what you want. Sometimes, the system isn't good at that. But your voice is part of this. He nods, swallowing hard. Lily shifts closer, her knee bumping the side of the bed. I want him to stay with us, she says simply. I don't care how many forms you need. Reaper huffs out a breath that might be a laugh. You're going to scare this lady off with all that honesty, he says. Not at all, Miss Carter says. It's actually refreshing. She looks at Marcus. If I push for this option, she says slowly, I need to know you want it. Not because you feel you owe them, but because it feels like home, or close to it. Home. The word feels too big for his chest. He thinks of nights behind the diner, curled up against cold metal. Of the shelter bunks, crowded and loud, where everything he owned fit in one plastic bag under his pillow. Of social workers with tired eyes, always on their way to the next kid. He thinks of Lily putting her backpack under his head like a pillow in that alley. He thinks of Reaper's arms around him, lifting him like he isn't heavy at all. I don't know what home feels like anymore, he says honestly. But this feels closer than anything else has in a long time. Reaper looks away suddenly, blinking hard. Ms. Carter closes the folder completely. All right, she says. Here's what I can do. I can flag this as a potential kin-like placement and request that you be discharged into temporary care under Michael's supervision. It would be conditional. Supervised. We'd check in. A lot. Reaper nods. Check as much as you need, he says. You'll find us where we say we'll be. She stands. I need to make some calls, she says. Nothing is guaranteed. I want you to understand that. But I will try. She pauses at the door. And Marcus, she adds, no matter what happens next, you are not harder to place. You are a kid who deserves adults who don't give up. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. He nods, unable to speak. After she leaves, the room seems to exhale. Lily breaks the quiet first. Does this mean, she says slowly, that if they say yes, you'll get a room? With a bed? And maybe a nightlight if you want one? And we can draw your name on the door so you know it's yours. Marcus laughs once, a choked little sound. That sounds dangerous, he says. How, she asks. What if I like it, he says, and then they take it away. Reaper leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Kid, he says, I can't promise you the system won't throw every curveball it's got. I can't promise I won't mess up sometimes. But I can promise you this. If they let you walk out of here with us, I'm not going to treat you like something temporary. Marcus looks at him, searching his face for any sign of a lie. He doesn't find one. Outside, a helicopter hums over the city. A cart rattles down the hallway. Somewhere, a phone rings. Normal hospital sounds. But inside this room, something fragile and rare is happening. A choice. Do I have to decide right now, he asks. Reaper shakes his head. No, he says. You already did. Back in that alley. Marcus frowns. What do you mean, he asks. You decided, Reaper says, that you weren't okay with a little girl being scared and alone. You stepped in. You picked a side. Now I'm picking one too. Lily grins. Welcome to the side with pancakes, she says. His eyes sting again. Pancakes sound really good, he admits. If you think this boy finally being offered a home shouldn't slip past unnoticed. Like and subscribe so his story doesn't vanish into another file cabinet. A nurse appears in the doorway a few minutes later. Good news, she says. You're cleared to be discharged once paperwork is sorted. Arms set. We'll send you home with a care kit and instructions. She says home, very casually, like it's just a word. Marcus feels it echo. Home, he repeats softly. For now, Reaper says, getting to his feet. Home's wherever we're standing together. Paperwork's just the part that catches up. The nurse smiles. I'll let the front desk know, she says. There's someone from CPS on the phone asking where he'll be going tonight. Reaper nods. You can tell them, he says. We're waiting on their answer too. The nurse disappears again, and the room falls quiet. Marcus stares at the doorway, at the space Ms. Carter will walk back through with whatever decision has been made somewhere far away from this bed. He has a cast. He has people sitting on either side of him. He has a maybe. For a boy who's had nothing but maybes that turned into no's, this one feels different. Dangerous. Precious. Ms. Carter's shadow hits the floor before she does. It stretches under the hospital room door, long and thin, right as Marcus tightens his grip on the blanket with his good hand. His heart thuds in his ears. Lily stops swinging her legs. Reaper straightens just enough in his chair that his leather vest creaks in the quiet. The doorknob turns. MS. Carter steps in with the same gray blazer, the same folder, but something in her eyes is different. Not bad. Not exactly good. Just heavier. Like whatever she's carrying isn't simple. Marcus's mouth goes dry. Well, she says softly, closing the door behind her. I spoke with my supervisor. The words no kid wants to hear. Lily slides off her chair and moves closer to Marcus's bed, fingers curling around the rail. Reaper doesn't move, but his hands laced together tightly, knuckles paling. Is he? Marcus starts, then stops. Am I going somewhere? The last word comes out smaller than he means it to. Miss Carter lets out a slow breath and pulls the chair closer to the bed. Marcus, she says, you remember what I told you. Nothing like this is instant. There are rules we have to follow. He nods, eyes locked on her face. I spoke to my supervisor about 2 options, she continues. 1, placing you immediately in a group facility or emergency foster care. 2, allowing you to be discharged into temporary care with Michael and Lily while we start the formal process. She glances at Reaper. He's very persistent, she adds, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Reaper just grunts softly. So what did they say? Lily blurts. Miss Carter looks at Marcus, not at Reaper, when she answers. They said yes, with conditions, she says. Time seems to pause. Yes, Marcus echoes slowly. Yes, she repeats. You are allowed to leave the hospital tonight with Michael and Lily, but it will be under what we call monitoring. I'll be checking in. There will be paperwork, home visits, and this is not yet a permanent placement. Do you understand? He doesn't breathe for a second. You mean I? I can go with them, he whispers. For now, she says. Yes. His whole body sags in relief he didn't even know he was holding. Lily squeals so suddenly the nurse passing by outside jumps. I told you. She cries. I told you she was the good kind of office lady. Miss Carter laughs under her breath. I don't know if anyone's ever called me that, she says. But I'll take it. Reaper's shoulders drop a fraction. What's the catch? He asks, because men like him always expect one. Miss Carter opens the folder. You'll need to bring him to follow-up appointments, she says. Make sure he takes care of the cast. School will need to be addressed. Documentation. Background checks. I'll need to see your home. There will be questions about stability, income, your record. She meets his eyes evenly. None of that scares me, she says. But it will be work. Reaper nods slowly. I've done harder things for worse reasons, he says. This one seems worth the fight. She turns back to Marcus. This is important, she says. If at any point you feel unsafe, unheard, or like this isn't what you want anymore, you tell me. I'm not here to take you away from something good. I'm here to make sure the people who want you are ready to keep you. The word keep hits him harder than yes did. Okay, he says, voice thick. I want to go with them. For a second, he's terrified someone will say, too late, decisions made without you. Nobody does. Miss Carter stands. All right, she says. I'll finalize your discharge with the front desk. They'll bring your paperwork and some instructions. Then, you go home with them tonight. She heads for the door, then pauses. Oh, she adds, one more thing. Marcus? Yeah, he asks. Her expression softens. You're allowed to be happy about this, she says. Even if it scares you. After she leaves, the room feels different. Bigger. Like the walls moved back to make space for something new. Lily is already planning 3 steps ahead. We have an extra room, she babbles happily. It has boxes in it now, but we can move them. You can have my old lamp with the stars on it. And Daddy can put your name on the door with his big metal letters he uses in the garage. Do you like blue? Or red? We can paint. Maybe. If the landlord says it's okay. If not, we can just tape stuff up and... Lily, Reaper says gently. She stops, cheeks flushed. Let him breathe, he murmurs. Marcus is quiet, staring at his cast. I've never... He starts, then lets the sentence die. Never what? Reaper asks. Never left somewhere with people who wanted me to leave with them, he says. It was always me leaving. or them sending me away. Reaper's jaw tenses. Well, kid, he says, get used to the other version. We're not dropping you off at a bus stop. A calm knock interrupts them. The nurse returns with a clipboard, a small bag, and a stack of papers. Discharge time, she says cheerfully. Marcus, these are your care instructions. No heavy lifting. No getting the cast wet. Come back if anything feels wrong. She hands a pen to Reaper. You'll sign here as the responsible adult, she says. And just know that CPS will be following up. You're in their book now. In a good way. Reaper signs, the pen looking small in his hand. Marcus watches the signature like it's some kind of magic. One scribble of ink that ties his name to someone else's. The nurse passes Marcus the small bag. Extra sling. Some pain medicine, she says. And a little surprise. He peeks inside. There's a pair of soft, thick socks. Brand new, still rolled. No holes. No thin patches. Just warm. For the first night somewhere that isn't concrete, she says with a wink. His throat burns. Thank you, he whispers. They help him sit up slowly. The hospital gown is replaced with his hoodie, carefully maneuvered around the cast. Reaper does most of the work, Lily holding the sleeve open, tongue poking out in concentration. It's awkward, slow, gentle. When he's finally ready, Reaper offers his hand. Ready, he asks. Marcus nods. His feet touch the floor. Every step out of that room feels like it should echo down the hallway. It doesn't. To the rest of the hospital, they're just another discharge. To Marcus, it feels like crossing a line he's been circling for years. They pass the nurse's station. One of the nurses lifts her hand in a small wave. Take care of that arm, Marcus, she calls. And let those two fuss over you a little. You've earned it. He ducks his head, but he smiles. At the front desk, Ms. Carter is on the phone, but she looks up as they approach. For a moment, Marcus catches her watching him, not as a case, but as a kid walking out with something he didn't have when he came in. She ends the call and leans over the desk. I'll see you in a couple of days, she says. I'll call first. Don't be scared when I show up. It just means I'm doing my job. He nods. Thank you, he says. For not just sending me away. You're not a package, she replies. You're a person. They step out through the sliding doors. The evening air hits him, cooler now, tinged with exhaust, faintly sweet from some nearby restaurant. The sky is deepening toward night, streaked with the last traces of sunset. The truck is waiting. So are the bikes. The same two riders from before are there, leaning against their handlebars, talking in low voices. They straighten when they see the trio emerge. Well, look at that, the older one says. Did they fix you up, kid? Yeah, Marcus says. They did. The rider nods toward Reaper. And the other part, he asks. They say yes. Reaper looks at Marcus. They said, yes, but we're watching, he says. I told them good. Watching means they care. The rider grins. Welcome to the circus, kid, he says. We're a mess, but we're the kind that shows up. They help Marcus into the truck again, Lily scrambling beside him. Reaper shuts the door and circles to the driver's side. As the engine starts, Marcus looks back at the hospital. It's just a building. But for the first time, he's not leaving it alone. The convoy pulls out, truck in front, bikes behind. The city lights flicker on one by one as they drive, turning the streets into rivers of gold and white. Marcus watches through the window, the cast heavy on his chest, Lily's head resting lightly against his shoulder. Are we going to your house? He asks quietly. Yeah, Reaper says. It's not a castle, but it's got a roof, a bathroom that mostly works, and a couch that'll probably eat you if you fall asleep on it. Lily giggles. And my room, she adds. And maybe soon your room. He closes his eyes for a second, letting that word settle. Your house, he says, testing it. Your home. Our home, Lily corrects. Traffic slows near a red light. They stop outside a small grocery store. A man in a worn jacket stands by the door, holding a cardboard sign that says, in shaky letters, anything helps. God bless. Marcus flinches. He knows that posture, that distance people keep. Reaper notices. You see him, he asks quietly. Yeah, Marcus says. I used to stand like that. Outside gas stations. People would look everywhere, but at me. Reaper grunts. People are afraid if they look too close, they'll see themselves, he says. Marcus looks at him. Did you ever stand there? He asks. Reaper hesitates. A long time ago, he says. Before Lily. Before the patch. Before I figured out I wasn't going to make it if I kept going the way I was. The light turns green. As they pull away, the man by the store looks up just long enough to meet Marcus's eyes. It's only a second, but it feels like two survivors recognizing each other through glass. If you think no kid should have to recognize that look from experience, like and subscribe so more people see what he's surviving. The neighborhood changes as they drive. Less neon, more porches. Narrow houses lined up shoulder to shoulder, some cared for, some tired. Laundry flaps on a balcony. A dog barks behind a fence. Reaper turns down a side street. This is us, he says. They pull up in front of a modest, slightly lopsided house with peeling paint and a chain-link fence. A porch light glows over the front door like a small, stubborn star. Marcus stares. It's nice, he says. Lily laughs. You don't have to lie, she says. The roof leaks sometimes, but never in my room. Daddy put a bucket there. Reaper kills the engine and turns to face Marcus fully. It's not fancy, he says, but it's honest. Everything inside was paid for by work, not luck. You're welcome in all of it. The words feel like a key turning in a lock. They help him out of the truck. The bikes pull up behind, engines cutting off one by one. The quiet that follows feels louder than the noise did. The front gate creaks when Lily pushes it open. She leads the way up the short path, skipping over a cracked section of concrete. Careful there, she calls back. Daddy keeps saying he'll fix it, but he forgets. Reaper snorts. Now I got two people to remind me, he says. At the door, Lily fumbles with a key, then pushes it open. The smell hits Marcus first. Coffee, a hint of motor oil, laundry soap, something sweet like vanilla from a cheap candle. It smells lived in. He steps over the threshold. The living room is small but full. A sagging couch, a low table scarred with rings from cups, an old TV with a faint scratch across the screen, shelves lined with mismatched picture frames, and a few carefully folded Hell's Angels jackets. Toys are scattered in one corner, coloring books in another. On one wall, there's a cluster of drawings. Some are recent, some are older, the paper yellowing around the edges. In most of them, there's a big figure on a bike and a small figure beside him. Lily marches straight over to the wall. She pulls a fresh piece of tape from a dispenser and slaps her newest drawing up there. The one with 3 figures and a crooked heart. There, she says proudly. Now the wall's updated. Marcus stands in the doorway, afraid to move too far in. You can sit, Reaper says. The floor doesn't charge rent. Marcus lets out a breathy laugh and steps in. The couch sighs when he lowers himself onto it, the cushions swallowing him just enough to feel safe. Lily disappears down the hall and comes back dragging a pillow almost as big as she is. This is for your arm, she says, propping it under the cast. They said keep it elevated. That means up, not droopy. Got it, he says, a smile tugging at his mouth despite everything. Reaper drops his keys in a bowl by the door, then stands in the middle of the room for a second, taking it all in. The boy on the couch, the girl fussing with the pillow, the fact that his house looks suddenly less empty than it did this morning. You hungry, he asks. Marcus hesitates. Always, he admits. Reaper nods toward the kitchen. Good, he says. We've got a rule here. No one sleeps hungry if we can help it. He heads to the kitchen. Pots clink. A cabinet door thumps. The smell of something warming, soup, maybe, and toast, starts to drift out. Lily climbs onto the other end of the couch, folding her legs under her. You okay? She asks. Yeah, he says. It's not entirely true. He's scared, overwhelmed, waiting for someone to say it's a mistake. But for the first time in a long time, okay, feels like it might be possible. Lily looks around the room, then leans closer. You know what the best part is? She whispers. What? He whispers back. You're here before your stuff is, she says matter-of-factly. Usually people have stuff before they have a person who wants them. You get the person first. He swallows hard. I don't have much stuff, he says. A backpack, some clothes, a picture of my sister I drew from memory. Her face lights up. Then we'll get you stuff, she says. One thing at a time. Socks. A toothbrush. Maybe a blanket that doesn't smell like everyone else used it first. He laughs softly. That sounds really nice, he says. Footsteps thud down the hall outside. Voices float in through the window. Neighbors moving around, someone laughing, a TV playing a game show. Normal sounds. The kind of background noise kids with homes ignore. To Marcus, it sounds like proof the world goes on even when one boy's life quietly shifts on its axis. Reaper returns with 2 bowls. He sets one carefully in Marcus's lap, balanced so it doesn't jostle the cast. Steam curls up, carrying the smell of chicken and noodles. It's not fancy, but it's hot, and it's his. He picks up the spoon with his left hand. It's clumsy. The first scoop almost tips. Lily casually steadies the bowl with her hands. No big deal, she says. You'll get better at left-handed stuff. I'm ambi something. Daddy says it just means my hands can't pick a side. Ambidextrous, Reaper calls from the kitchen. Yeah, that, she says. Marcus takes a bite. It's just soup, but it might as well be a feast. They eat quietly for a few minutes. Then there's another sound. A knock. Not on their door. On the front gate. 3 sharp raps that cut through the room. Reaper's head snaps up. Lily's spoon freezes halfway to her mouth. Marcus's heart drops into his stomach. Expecting anyone, he asks, voice small. Reaper sets his bowl down slowly. No, he says. I'm not. The knock comes again. Same rhythm. Same weight. Reaper wipes his hands on a towel and moves to the front window, peeking through the curtain. Out on the sidewalk, under the streetlight, stands a figure Marcus recognizes. Gray blazer, folder hugged to her chest, expression unreadable in the yellow glow. Ms. Carter. She's not alone. Beside her is a man in a different kind of jacket, holding another file, eyes scanning the house like he's checking boxes in his head. Reaper lets the curtain fall back into place. Who is it? Lily whispers. Social services, he says. Round 2. Marcus's fingers tighten around the spoon. I thought she said we could go with you, he says, panic creeping back into his voice. She did, Reaper says. This is just the part where they see if they made a mistake. The knock comes a 3rd time. Firm. Patient. Like they have all the time in the world, and Marcus suddenly doesn't. Reaper takes a breath, squared shoulders silhouetted in the hallway light. Stay on the couch, he tells the kids. Don't answer unless I call you. He moves toward the door as the screen goes dark on this chapter, leaving viewers staring at the blurred outline of Ms. Carter and the stranger by the gate. Just as the porch light flickers, and a single, terrifying question hangs unspoken. Are they here to watch? Or to take him back? Reaper doesn't open the door right away. He stands in the narrow hallway, listening to the rhythm of the knock, the scrape of shoes on his porch, the low murmur of a voice outside. On the couch, Marcus sits very still, spoon forgotten in his bowl, cast propped on the pillow Lily dragged over for him. The soup has gone warm, but his fear is cold. Daddy, Lily whispers. Are they mad? Reaper glances back. No, he says. They're doing their job. He pauses. I'm doing mine. He unlocks the door and pulls it open. Ms. Carter stands on the porch, gray blazer slightly wrinkled, hair frizzed a bit more than before. Next to her is a man in a dark jacket, older, with tired eyes and a clipboard. The porch light hums above them. Evening, Michael, Ms. Carter says. May we come in? If you're here to see the kid, you're not doing it from the sidewalk, Reaper replies. Yeah, come in. She steps inside. The man follows, closing the door behind them. From the couch, Marcus watches them cross into the living room, suddenly painfully aware of every scuff on the floor, every mismatched cushion, every patched spot of paint. He wonders if houses get judged the way kids do. Too rough, too risky, too much work. Lily moves closer to him, chin lifted like she's ready to argue with any adult on the planet. Ms. Carter's eyes sweep the room, not with disgust, but with patient attention. Couch, table, drawings on the wall, backpack by the door, cast on the pillow, 2 bowls of half-finished soup. The man beside her does the same, though his gaze lingers a bit longer on the leather vests hanging by the stairs. Marcus, Ms. Carter says, voice warm. Good to see you upright. Hi, he says quietly. This is Mr. Alvarez, she adds, gesturing to the man. He oversees certain placement decisions in this district. He wanted to see things for himself. Mr. Alvarez nods. Hey, son, he says. You okay? Marcus glances at Reaper, then back. Yes, sir, he says. My arm hurts. But I'm okay. Can we sit? Miss Carter asks. Reaper gestures to the two old chairs against the wall. Those are the least lumpy, he says. Couch already claimed. They sit. The room settles into a strange stillness. The TV off, the neighborhood noise muffled, the clock over the kitchen doorway ticking just loud enough to remind everyone time is moving. Miss Carter flips open her folder. This is not a surprise removal, she begins, looking right at Marcus. Take a breath. We aren't here to grab you and go. He doesn't realize he's been holding his breath until it rushes out of him in a shaky exhale. Then, why are you here? He asks. We're here because, she says, when we allow a child to leave a hospital with someone who's not a relative, people above my pay grade get nervous. They want to know where that child sleeps, how he eats, who's watching him. Her eyes soften. And sometimes they want to double-check that I didn't let my heart overrule my judgment. Lily crosses her arms. Well, your heart was right, she says. He has socks now, and soup, and a pillow, and me. Mr. Alvarez smiles faintly. Those go in the plus column, he says. He glances at Reaper. Mind if I ask you a few questions? He says. Pretty sure you're gonna whether I mind or not, Reaper replies. So go ahead. Do you work? Alvarez asks. Yeah, Reaper says. Garage, 3 blocks over. Bikes, cars, trucks if they're not too fancy. Long hours, decent pay. Cash and legit both. Who watches Lily while you're at work? He asks. School during the day, Reaper says. Club brothers when I'm stuck late. They know the rules. Nobody drinks around her. Nobody brings trouble to my doorstep. Alvarez nods, makes a note. You have a record, he says, not as an accusation, more like a fact everyone in the room already knows. Yep, Reaper says. None of it about hurting kids. Most of it about being young and thinking I was bulletproof. And now? Alvarez asks. Now, Reaper says, I got one kid who calls me dad and another one who keeps flinching when adults say his name. So I got no room left for stupid. Alvarez studies him, then turns to Marcus. How about you? He asks gently. How's he been so far? Marcus shrugs with one shoulder. He carried me out of the hospital when he could have left, he says. He made sure I had food before he ate. He let me sit on the couch that sinks in the middle instead of the chair with the spring sticking out. He didn't talk about me like I wasn't in the room. He swallows. That's more than a lot of adults. Do you feel safe here? Alvarez asks. Marcus looks around. The room is cluttered. A little rough. The ceiling has a faint water stain in one corner. The carpet is worn, but there are drawings on the wall. A backpack by the door. A pillow under his arm. A girl who scoots closer whenever he looks nervous. A man who keeps standing between him and every unknown. Yes, Marcus says. I feel more safe here than most places I've been. Alvarez leans back, eyes flicking once more to the vests by the stairs. Clubs like yours, he says to Reaper, don't exactly have a clean reputation. Reaper nods. Some of that's earned, he says. Some of it's what people think when they see leather and bikes. We don't pretend we're choir boys. But there are lines we don't cross. Kids are one of them. You'll find half the guys in that clubhouse grew up like him. He nods toward Marcus. Nobody stepped in. We remember what that felt like. Miss Carter closes her folder halfway. I've seen foster homes with nicer furniture than this, she says quietly, where the kids' eyes look dead. And I've seen cramped apartments, shared rooms, hand-me-down everything, where the kid looked like the center of the universe. She looks at Marcus. I care a lot more about which one you're closer to. He doesn't speak, but his gaze slides to Lily, then to Reaper, then to the soup bowl cooling on the table. Alvarez clears his throat. Marcus, he says, we have a few choices right now. We can move you to a facility with staff and rules and other kids. We can find a foster home in the system and place you there. Or we can treat this like a trial. Supervised placement with Michael and Lily while we go through every step we'd normally drag out over months. but with you in the place you've chosen. Is that allowed? Marcus asks. Not always, Alvarez says. Sometimes it's too risky. Sometimes the adults aren't ready. Sometimes the kid isn't. But sometimes, he glances at Miss Carter. Sometimes making a child sleep one more night in a bed he doesn't trust just because the paperwork isn't done feels like the bigger risk. The room feels like it's holding its breath. What do you want, Marcus? Miss Carter asks, not leading him, not catching his eye with signals. Just asking. He could say what he thinks they want to hear. He could say he doesn't want to cause trouble, that maybe a group home is easier, that he's used to temporary. But something in him is tired of being easy to move. He pauses, searching for words. I want to stay where people would notice if I didn't come home. I want to stay somewhere people already know my name without reading it off a file. His voice shakes. And I want to stop learning the rules of new beds all the time. That's not a place on an official list, Alvarez says softly. Marcus takes a breath. It is now, he says. It's here. He looks straight at Reaper when he says it. Reaper is very still, like one wrong move will scare the moment away. Michael, Alvarez says, you understand that if we approve this, we'll be in your life. A lot. Unannounced visits. Questions. Classes. They'll dig into everything you've done for the last 10 years. You ready for that? Reaper doesn't even look away from Marcus. If that's what it costs to make sure he doesn't fall asleep behind another diner, he says, then yeah, I'm ready. Lily throws her hands up. So what's the problem? She demands. We like him. He likes us. He's already here. His soup is getting cold. Doesn't that tell you everything? Miss Carter laughs quietly. Honestly, she says, it tells me more than some reports I've read. Alvarez sighs, rubs the bridge of his nose, then closes his clipboard. All right, he says. Here's what we're going to do. 3 pairs of eyes lock onto him. We approve supervised kin-like placement effective tonight, he says. Marcus can stay here. We'll start the foster/guardian process with Michael immediately. No promises on how long it takes. No guarantees on the outcome. But we will not move Marcus again unless something goes wrong. Marcus's stomach drops at that last line. Unless something goes wrong, but the rest crashes over him like a wave. I can stay, he asks. For now. Alvarez says, this is your home. Lily squeals again, bouncing so much the couch protests. I knew it, she cries. We're a family now. The paperwork just has to catch up. Miss Carter smiles wide this time, no reservation in it. Told you I was the good kind of office lady, she says. If watching a boy finally get told, you belong here, after so much rejection hits you hard. Like and subscribe so more people see stories where kids are chosen, not discarded. Reaper exhales a long breath he didn't realize he was holding. Then I guess I better find that spare pillow, he says gruffly. And maybe a lock for the fridge. Marcus laughs, startled. You don't have to. Kid, Reaper interrupts. If you apologize one more time for existing, I'm making you do dishes one-handed for a week. Lily gasps. Daddy, he just got here, she says. Then, softer to Marcus, don't worry. I'll help. I'm short-handed too when I'm grounded. Alvarez stands. I'll need to see the rest of the house, he says. The room he'll sleep in. The bathroom. That sort of thing. Reaper nods. Not gonna find marble countertops, he says. But you'll find clean sheets. He leads Alvarez down the hall. Miss Carter doesn't follow. She stays in the living room, turning her chair so she's facing the couch. You holding up? She asks Marcus. He nods, then shakes his head, then laughs at himself. I don't know what I'm doing, he admits. I feel like, if I move too fast, this will disappear. It won't, she says. We don't hand out these kinds of placements easy. We fought for this. You fought for this. So did that little hurricane next to you. Lily grins. I told him you were good, she says. My radar is never wrong. Ms. Carter leans forward. May I ask you something? She says. Sure, Marcus replies. If we had said no, she says, if we'd told you you had to go to a group home tonight, what would you have done? He thinks about it. I would have gone, he says quietly, because I never had a choice before. But I would have stopped believing that telling the truth matters. She nods slowly. Then I'm glad we didn't teach you that lesson tonight, she says. Footsteps return down the hall. Reaper and Alvarez come back. Well, Miss Carter asks. Alvarez shrugs. Room needs work, he says. Kid needs clothes, school supplies, probably more than 2 pairs of socks. But I've seen kids with their own walk-in closets who would kill for this much attention. He looks at Marcus. Tomorrow, he says, you and I are going to talk about school, about your sister, about what you want to be when you're not surviving. But tonight, you rest. He turns to Reaper. We'll schedule the first home visit and initial interview, he says. Try not to give me reasons to regret this. Reaper snorts. You'll be back, he says. You people always are. We will, Alvarez agrees. That's the point. He heads for the door. Ms. Carter lingers a second longer. You know where to reach me, she tells Marcus. If anything changes, good or bad. He nods. Thank you, he says, for seeing me. Thank you, she replies, for letting us. They leave. The door closes with a soft click. Silence. Real silence. No monitors. No echoing hospital halls. Just the hum of the fridge, the faint buzz of the porch light, the neighbor's TV muffled through the wall. Lily tilts her head back and lets out a long, dramatic sigh. Well, she declares, that was a lot of grown-ups in one day. Reaper leans against the door for a moment, eyes closed, then pushes off and steps back into the living room. He looks at Marcus, really looks, like he's measuring whether the boy still believes what was just said. You okay? He asks. Marcus nods slowly. I think so, he says. It feels weird. What does? Reaper asks. Hearing people talk about my life, Marcus says, and letting me be in the room while they decide it. Reaper's mouth curves. Get used to that too, he says. You're not a stray we took in for a night. You're part of this. Part of what? Marcus asks. Reaper gestures vaguely around the room. This, he says. Chaos. Noise. Pancakes on Sundays. Laundry nobody remembers to fold. A kid who will absolutely steal your socks if you leave them on the floor. He nods at Lily. And a dad who's trying to do better than the one he had. Lily beams. We also have movie night, she adds. We watch old stuff sometimes. Daddy says it's so I remember when things were made to last. Marcus leans back against the couch. Do I get a chore? He asks, half joking, half serious. Reaper barks out a laugh. Look at you, angling for responsibilities, he says. Tell you what, first chore is simple. Heal, sleep, eat. Learn how to drink milk without spilling it left-handed. I can do that, Marcus says. And when that's done, Reaper says, we'll talk about trash day. Lily leans her head on Marcus's uninjured shoulder. Can I tell you a secret? She whispers. Yeah, he says. I was scared too, she admits. When they came to talk about you, I thought they might say no. And then you'd leave. And then every time I drew a picture, there'd be an empty spot where you were supposed to be. He swallows. I was scared they'd say yes, he says. And then take it back later. She thinks about that. Maybe we can both be scared, she decides. And still stay. He nods. That sounds fair, he says. Reaper glances at the clock. It's late, he says. Important people, he nods at the kids, need sleep. Marcus, you can take the extra room. It's full of boxes right now, but I shoved them to the side. There's a bed. Might squeak a little. It's clean. Marcus hesitates. Are you sure? He asks. I can take the couch. Reaper shakes his head. You've slept on enough couches you didn't choose, he says. Take the bed. He helps Marcus stand, careful of the cast. Lily trots ahead, flicking on the hallway light. The extra room is small. Boxes line one wall, labeled with things like tools, old jackets, misc. A simple bed sits against the other wall, made up with a plain gray blanket and a pillow that still smells faintly of laundry soap. A small dresser stands empty. The window looks out over the backyard, where a lone tree leans against a wooden fence. It's not much. It's everything. Lily runs to the dresser and pulls open a drawer. Empty, she announces. See? It's like it was waiting for you. Marcus steps inside slowly. Are you sure this is okay? He asks Reaper. Reaper leans against the doorframe. You see anyone else living here? He says. That room's been holding my past for too long. Time it held someone's future. He nods at the bed. Go on, he says. Try it out. Make sure it doesn't bite. Marcus sits on the edge. The mattress dips under his weight, then holds. It's softer than concrete. softer than shelter bunks, softer than anything he slept on in months. He lies back carefully, cradling his cast. The ceiling here has no water stains, just a faint spiderweb in one corner, catching a bit of hallway light. Reaper steps in and sets something on the crate being used as a nightstand. A cheap little lamp with plastic stars around the shade. Lily said you might want this, he says. If it's too bright, we can find something else. Marcus looks at the lamp. If I leave it on, he asks, you're not going to say I'm wasting electricity? Reaper shrugs. I'm going to say you've had enough dark for a while, he replies. We'll figure the bill out. Lily hops onto the foot of the bed, careful of his legs. I'll bring your socks, she says. The new ones. And tomorrow we can draw a sign for your door. It'll say Marcus's room. Unless you want it to say something else. We can vote. He stares at her. My name, he says, is enough. She grins. Then that's what it'll say. Reaper moves to the door. I'm just down the hall, he says. You need anything, you yell. Loud. Don't be polite about it. Marcus nods. Okay, he says. Reaper flicks the lamp on. Soft light spills across the blanket, painting small stars on the wall. Welcome home, kid, Reaper says quietly. He starts to turn away. Reaper. Marcus blurts. Reaper pauses. Yeah. Thank you, Marcus says, for picking me, when you didn't have to. Reaper's eyes shine a little in the lamplight. Truth is, he says, you picked us too. Don't forget that. He leaves the door cracked, just enough for hallway light to slip through. Lily waves once, then slips out after him. Marcus is alone, but not the way he used to be. He lies there for a long moment, listening. To Lily's muffled voice in the other room, to Reaper's low reply, to the faint creak of the house settling around them. Every sound says the same thing. You're here. You're not outside the door anymore. He turns his head. Out the window, the sky is dark, but a few stubborn stars push through the city glow. The lamplight throws patterns on the walls. On the crate nightstand, someone has set the little hospital bag with his extra sling and socks, and beside it, a folded piece of paper. He reaches for it with his left hand and unfolds it. It's a drawing. 3 figures again. The tall one with the vest. The little one with pigtails. The slightly taller one with a cast. Above them, in careful, shaky letters. Our family. He stares at the word for a long time. Then, very slowly, he lets himself believe that maybe, just maybe, it's true. Outside, a motorcycle engine purrs briefly as someone from the club rides past the house, checking in, making sure everything is quiet. The sound fades, leaving only the hum of the lamp and the soft breath of a boy who is finally falling asleep somewhere he has permission to stay.